Yes, welcome back. This is the biggest breakfast show, and the biggest literally, because my panel keeps getting bigger every time we take a break. Now we do have Sandra Chola next to me. Next to Sandra, we do have Vincent Kimosop, the latest entrant into this panel. Good morning, Vincent. Karibu sana.
Morning to you.
Policy analyst. And next to him, we still do have Njogu Barua and Pigi Shugu. On my right, we do have Charles Munu, an analyst, and the CEO for NASA Secretariat, Norman Magaya. Just before the break, we're looking at the final countdown in as far as the campaigns are concerned, and we're just looking at how exhausted and how tired looking the big campaigners or the big candidates, and we're talking about the Jubilee Party candidates for president. That's President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, and the NASA principals Raila Odinga and team, and how exhausted they look. Let's now move the conversation to another headline, and this is what is headlining on the Daily Nation this morning. IEBC shows how it will prevent rigging. The big question is, are we satisfied? Scanned forms signed by all agents will be the backup for electronic results, and the computers will tally, cross-check and display votes without human intervention in a system designed to eliminate manipulation. The full story is on page 3 of the Daily Nation. That story has also been captured on the Standard, page 19. IEBC delivers another blow to vote riggers, and that's what Decision 27, the pull-out on the Standard headlines. Directive is meant to ensure that no elected position will get more votes than the total cast in a polling station. Now, what they've done, and I think the Standard has broken it down, is that the Commission has made it mandatory that all voters entering a polling station will receive 6 ballot papers for all the elective seats. This is meant to ensure that the number of votes cast for each elected seat in the polling station agrees with the cumulative presidential vote in that station. All polling officials have been instructed to effect that directive. The other one is that the IEBC has already announced it has sealed another possible loophole that could have allowed dead voters to cast a ballot by doing away with the manual crossing out of a voter's name from the printed register. Now, those two things, IEBC says, will prevent rigging. Now, question is, are we satisfied with this? Yesterday, of course, we saw a simulation of the results transmission, and probably let's start with NASA, because I know you have had the biggest problem with some of these issues. There's still a court case with regard to that. There's also a headline with regard to that. Some of the judges have actually recused themselves from listening to that. We'll be discussing that in as far as judiciary matters are concerned. But are you satisfied with assurances that are on the headlines today that this will actually prevent rigging?
First of all, it's not true to say that we have had the biggest problem. We have had the most exhaustive interrogation of the pre-election process.
Fair
not enough. A problem. But what I will say is that the technology is as good as the people using it. So I think IEBC has done its bit. As to whether the staff will be able to deploy this technology and use it appropriately is a different matter also.
So at least as far as the assurances by IEBC,
the goodwill, the intention, the resolve from IEBC, I'll give it to them, that we've come a long way to get to where we are. And I think going into the home stretch is to leave up to them now to fulfill their mandate and render Kenyans an election that is consistent with the law. And one only hopes that there will be appropriate use of this technology, and if it runs as they are saying, I think we may have an election where there will be no murmurs, that the winners will be happy that they have won in a manner that is transparent, and the losers will be satisfied that this election reflects the will of the people. And I think that is what this country needs, that you go to an election, each vote counts, and that the will of the majority prevails. And I think IEBC has gone a long way, although there still exist challenges here and there, but we hope that the deployment and use of this technology will be able to resolve a few questions, because technology is not an answer to everything in an election. The intensity and character of those using this technology must just be as good as the technology for you to have results. And I think what they have also tried to do is minimize the degree of failure by providing backup kits. I think they said they had provided 3 or 4 per ward, so that if a kit failed in a polling station, there will easily be another one to replace it. I think the other thing that I've looked at positively is the process of identification of voters. I think I saw a memo from the Commission, and it's an elaborate step-by-step, so that something is not just made to fail for another process to be deployed. I think they have provided an elaborative process, and if it is followed to the letter, I think we will have an election that is consistent with the law.
Let's allow now Vincent to come in here. And IEBC has for the longest time been criticized, whether rightly or probably it could have been misinformation, of not being ready for this. But IEBC in the last few days appears really ready for the process, and probably this is what we were missing, that probably this is the kind of communication from IEBC that we needed all along.
Fred, somebody once said, where communication stops, imagination takes over. IEBC, I've consistently said even in this program that IEBC technically has been ready for the election. It is political, it's politically that they have not been ready. Like this kind of communication, this kind of demonstration, that is one of the problems that IEBC has been having. Number two is that the organizing question for this election has clearly now been defined. It's the IEBC, specifically the electoral process. And it is really impressive, even the comments of my colleague Magawa, that has pointed out that now what needs to be done is the challenge to the political class to elevate it to the next level and speak and inspire confidence into this process. I will quote the former US President Barack Obama. He said that on the outside the Oval Office after the win of Donald Trump, he said this: my candidate did not win, but on this day we are all Americans. We are rooting for the success of Donald Trump. If Donald Trump succeeds, the America succeeds. I think at this point it is important for us and paramount for everybody for us to root for the success of IEBC. We only have one commission. We only have one country. If IEBC succeeds in this election, then the country succeeds. And I think it is important that since we have people here who can reach to the top echelons of the political establishment, that if on this day, or even before the election, all of them speak to the process and they say, truly, we are confident that the outcome of this election will reflect the will of the people, then even the people will move to the elections with that confidence that truly their win is going to be respected. It will be great. You remember in 2013, when Uhuru Kenyatta was declared president, I think the following day or 2 days we saw them with the four of them outside State House. Let me tell you, that picture boosted the confidence of our people, and actually it helped in moving the country forward. So I think the challenge that I will throw in today, based on what IEBC has done, is that yes, we are not approving failure. Remember also my brother Fred, is that at this point we are talking about they have lost a staff who was also at the center of the IEBC. So if we can start speaking confidence and taking this country up at this point, it will be good not only for the election but also in healing the country. Just before we started, a friend of mine tweeted yesterday and says he is in Geneva. He says that the international community has raised the security alert of Kenya to 4. Which is 1 below Syria. I think it's through such processes that we prove them wrong. We can do better as a country.
Okay. Charles Mugira, it must be refreshing listening to the NASA CEO expressing comfort and satisfaction with the IEBC.
I had to look at him twice. But I'm really happy. And I think IEBC has come from far. I think for the first time in the history of this country, we even know where ballots are being printed. We know when they are getting here, by what means, when the elections will be. We know how the transmission will happen. We know all these things. And I think moving forward, the other contentious issue is protection of the votes that has been expressed by NASA by way of the 5 individuals that were planning on having at the polling stations. I don't have an update on that.
They're still planning.
That's why I wanted him to confirm on air that they're still planning on doing that. And I'm wondering, against the backdrop of what he has just said, because now he's reassured and he's saying he almost feels comfortable that this is going to happen, then we don't need the 5 individuals. Number one, it's already out in the public domain that will not be allowed. Number two, and which is even more of a concern to me, is the talk that over and above the 400 meters, anywhere around there, youth will hang around there, and it's coming from the top that we don't mind our youth hanging around there. And my concern is, this can only happen in NASA strongholds, naturally. And I don't know which individuals would want to go and steal votes from NASA strongholds. You know, who is this that is so confident that you'll go to NASA strongholds past all, you know, their agents are there, they're looking at what's going on and try and stuff ballots in there. And I think this is why we wonder, because we don't want people to be intimidated in whichever, whether it's Jubilee or NASA strongholds. We want voters to walk in, vote comfortably and leave. So I think that assurance, having that assurance, and Magaya is here, my brother, if you can assure the country that with this you will have more discussion with IEBC, so that this talk about protecting ballots through extrajudicial means will not happen. I think that will take us to the next level.
I think this needs an immediate rebuttal. I think my good measure of goodwill on our process should not be interpreted to mean that I drop my guard and vigilance. The vigilance remains, and the key word in this election is vigilance and interrogation of the processes. And I want to clarify that adopt a polling station has nothing to do with hanging around polling station. Adopt a polling station fundamentally is a voter turnout strategy. Okay? That you have your agents outside the polling station. Because mandatorily under the law determines who is inside the polling station.
Yeah.
There is no controversy or contention over who will be inside the polling station. That one is settled. And it's saying that you have your monitors out there who are tracking. And this is happening even in Central, I'm aware. They are working on a voter mobilization and turnout strategy. GoTV is an idea that is used even in all developed democracies. So you're having people who are tracking who has come out to vote, who has not come out to vote, what are the logistics involved, are people shying away because of distance, are people shying away because of security concern, that can they be reassured to turn out in the polling station and vote. I have been a presidential polling agent 2002, 2007, 2013. And since we started the process of counting votes at the polling station, it is always a norm that voters will vote and go away, but at 5 p.m. when the polling stations close, all voters troop back to the polling station. And it is part of a culture of public participation that is now imbued in our constitution, that the voters will come there, that their votes will be openly and transparently counted, a copy will be pinned on the door, and everyone disperses, going away knowing that this was our count for this polling station. There is absolutely nothing criminal about that, and that's where I take issue with the Minister for Interior. You cannot criminalize something that is not capable of being criminalized. What is criminal about mobilizing voters to turn out? What is criminal about turning out in the polling station at the closure of the polling station to witness the count of the votes and go away? There is absolutely nothing criminal. If you are telling voters keep away, don't witness the counting of the votes, then you must surely tell us what is this that you don't want voters to see. What is it? What mischief do you want to met out on the process that you will not want anyone to see? So I think we must be very clear with how the electoral process runs and what is the role of the public, because no one is telling people to mill around the polling stations during the day. If you do that, those who have not turned out will not even come out to vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And you hear what he says. Is it clear enough?
It is, and I think it's the most pleasing, the most pleasing conversation.
I'm happy I mean,
it's not on a very good note. And first on the fact that representatives from NASA are now expressing confidence in the IEBC, expressing confidence in our institutions, and assuring us that indeed moving forward, then we can have, to some level, we can have a free and fair election. We can now start propagating that narrative, a counter narrative to what we've been having before. And one thing I have to say is that we're not going to get anything perfect. Perfection does not exist, even within our systems. And I agree with him that the systems are only as good as the people who do what, as the people who operate, who manage them. And so that now is where the vigilance comes in. And I think the political parties and all the other actors have been given an opportunity to ensure that they have agents, to ensure that they, within those polling stations, they'll be given an opportunity to see the process and to monitor this process moving forward. But then one thing I'd like to highlight moving forward, that it will be good for you to also communicate better with your supporters, because you're telling us one thing, but then the narrative that is out there is totally different. So if that indeed is what is going to happen within the law, as you've rightly mentioned, then it is important that the same is communicated to your supporters, so that even out there we have one narrative moving forward, that the elections are going to be free, the elections are going to be fair, and you're not going to see all these shenanigans that with the narratives being created. But then, even that being said, IBC cannot work alone, and it needs us as voters, us as political actors, and even the leaders involved. We need to support our institutions. We need to ensure that past August 8th or August 9th, IBC will still be there to deliver an even better and even more certain 2022 election process.
Yes, Bonabaru.
I think I'm also pleased to have my friend Norman. He's clarified everything.
Because now you're more comfortable.
Yeah, it was what he's talking about. I think you should give me another chance to repeat it. It's totally different, double speak. But I think now that you're going to give me another chance to say it again, I think Kenya should be pleased. One thing is, you also said something clearly, that the fact that he is saying what he has said is not dropping his guard. That's something which, to me, is not clear what he means by dropping his guard. I want to tell you that there's a friend of mine who has been engaged me on WhatsApp for the last 3-4 days from outside the country, and I asked him finally, what is this? What are you doing in Asia? And he told me that he's there doing ABCD, and among the things he told me is that he's shopping for the best crowd control equipment, which is going to bring back to Kenya. So why a private citizen should go and shop for crowd control equipment is something I don't understand.
Now that is a story that I will get one of our journalists to follow with you, Bonabarua.
No problem.
Why would a private citizen
And I know the private citizen, that private citizen, I know he's not in Jubilee. The other thing you have said here,
I think on a national TV platform, you owe the country a little bit more information.
Yes, I'll do it.
What you are saying.
I said it. I'm giving the message here. No, that's why I said it. That's why I said it, because I'm ready to expand on that, because even the evidence on my phone here, it's not very far. So what I'm saying is, they also mentioned something about no human interference on the mechanism of the voting process. This is also very tricky, because in the case of failure of machines in one or two places, if there is human or manual voting ever takes place, then it will be seen as if it's interference. It can be a basis of complaint and so forth.
But the clarification, Bonabarua, is that voting is indeed manual. It is manual identification and the transmission of results that are digital.
Yes. So, but I think if it fails complete, for example, like mechanics, who have got their fingers prints distorted, they cannot get out, and they're in the register. I don't know what will happen to them.
No, I think, Bonawe, when this media house is called the Royal Media House, I really want to, I'm saying this, the Royal Media House, and this is the power breakfast. I really challenge us today that let's make it to be a power breakfast, not the rumor breakfast. And then number two, a royal conversation. As in listening to what Magaya said this morning, which really has, I think if we pick on from there, taking this conversation up, we will do justice to our country. And that's why it is important for me, for Magayo, and if what he's spoken as a technical person, if the same communication will go out as a political communication. I have worked as an election observer, I have worked as a polling clerk, and or I even wanted to be a commissioner. It is important that what he has said is given political representation. That when we say adopt a polling station, it is one, a strategy for voter turnout. Tunataka watu wetu wajitokeze wapige kura. And then in the evening when voting is counted, there is nothing wrong in people coming to see what is happening, because truly that is what happens in a polling center. That representation in itself, for me, is a thrust of confidence, because the original conversation was that people will not leave a polling station after they have voted. But he has clarified. That's why if we can really take this conversation together, because I believe we are also through these shows contributing to enhancing integrity of the electoral process.
And then the issue
I
also
to say
is
one thing, finally, after the elections is done, because we are talking so much about pre and during the election, there is life really after the night after the election. I want to request Fred that we have another conversation about the cost of our elections. I was doing a calculations and I got data from IEBC. We spend $22 per vote. The highest in India is $1. Sorry, Ghana is $1. $6 in Namibia. So if we can, if you arrive at this by looking at the amount of money we used in the election divided by the number of people who are voting, it comes to $22. We have one of the most expensive elections. And we need to ask ourselves, how do we build trust among ourselves? Because in the UK, during the Brexit and the 2 referendum, you only have one person in a polling station. You have the person who is watching, who is even volunteers, and then a security officer, and they print their papers. They use the ballot paper just the same as a newspaper. This week Rwanda is going to go on they are doing an election in this period. They have printed their own ballot papers in Rwanda. So we really need to start how do we build confidence in our country so that the cost of doing business, because we're talking about unemployment, this 2.5 billion that went to Al Ghurair, nothing wrong against Al Ghurair. If it went to a company, 2 or 3 companies in Kenya, this money would have remained in the country.
Well, that's a conversation that you'll have to have. And as you mentioned, yes, Kenya's election is perhaps one of the most expensive, and it's the second most expensive in the world, only second to Papua New Guinea. If Kenya you spend $22, in Papua New Guinea they spend over $60.
That's about 3 times.
Yes. In Nigeria, countries like Nigeria, they spend $8 per voter. But coming back to this conversation, and another question to Norman Magai, one of the moves here, the complaint previously about voters and whether or not it was true, but this is a claim that came from the NASA side of the political divide about last time 2 million voters voting for just the presidential race and no other. This time round, this move by IEBC, all polling presiding officers have been instructed that each voter who enters the polling station has to be given the 6 ballot papers for the president, the governor, the senator, member of the National Assembly, woman representative, and member of the county assembly. Are you satisfied that that move will actually reduce the possibility of what you were complaining about previously?
Fred, that's a very simple question. And the answer is very simple. It's not the commission directive. It's not a favor the commission is doing to the country. That's what the law says. The election law says every voter must be given 6 ballots. That is the law. And it is for purposes of accountability. The issue that there were 2 million people who voted for the president and not as the opposition did not actually emanate from us. This is information we were given by at least 5 commissioners of the former defunct Isaac Hassan-led IEBC. It was not originally from us. It is after that revelation that we started in derogation of the process. But I think also what I will give to the current commission is that they have made that communication abundantly clear. So that even on the election day, a voter will say, why are you giving me 3? I need 6. Okay? What I do with them is none of your business, but I need 6.
And you have to cast
I think that communication from the commission is very important, because it settles, it clarifies everything around the election process, what you are supposed to do when you arrive at the polling station, how many ballot papers you are entitled to. The second issue that I will want to touch on is what Honorable was saying, the people whose biometrics may be out because of their occupation and everything cannot be found. I think if you look at the memo from IEBC, it says the first primary method of identification is biometric. And they say that in case the person's biometric cannot be found, the second one is alphanumeric, that they will take your ID, they will enter in the presence of all agents, they will enter your ID number and your details will pop up on the tablet. okay, and then you will be allowed to vote, and the tablet automatically cancels out as a successfully identified vote. So I think there are safeguards even with a person whose biometrics, and I think from the KPMG report they said there are only 5,000 people whose biometrics are not in the system, and I think those have been catered for. The third issue that I will always remember from my late friend Chris Musando, he said that in 2013 the technology did not fail. The technology was made to fail. And I think what is needed at this point is the institutions that are correlating with IEBC, because this is not a standalone process. You have telecoms companies that are coming in, okay? You have the Communications Authority of Kenya, okay, that wields the power over the internet. All these institutions must commit to the fact that they will do what is within their powers to make sure that the technology IEBC has deployed actually works. And that is why statements from the Minister for ICT, Jom Sheru, are rather unfortunate, to the extent that one, that that the internet can be shut down, which affects the electronic transmission of results, and number two, that any media house that announces results will be shut down. I think he needs to realign and reconcile himself with the decision of the Court of Appeal, and I think IEBC has simply reproduced the final orders from that decision of the Court of Appeal, that the primary point of call for presidential election results is the polling station, and I think IEBC has clarified that it's providing a live feed to its server to all media houses, that both the commission and the media houses receive those results at the same time, without any degree of variation, and at that time the media is free to air, so that anybody seated,
it will have been announced by the IEBC.
Yes, so that anybody seated anywhere can take a calculator and track the results.
And Charles, today you really agreeing with I'm guessing you know the
although of course he has to throw in this or that. The CS's opposition was taken out of context, because I remember I was actually in this TV station, and he said he was being pushed against the corner on the announcement of results, and he was clear that results must be announced by IEBC, and I think that's a natural thing. All of us know that, and the question was, in the event anybody else is announcing results, I mean, that would create chaos, so that one can be shut down. The results that have not been announced by IEBC, because naturally, and all of us know, the law is very clear that who is supposed to announce the results. But moving forward, and I think like my colleague has said, we need to work on this. We need to, this is the basis around which we should be operating as Kenyans. I think a discussion of this nature, this is actually the real power breakfast for me. The first time I'm feeling very, very comfortable with this. Our people are watching. Our people are listening, and it would be rather unfortunate that we move from here 3 days to elections and then the conversation changes. But if we build on this and the leadership, the political leadership picks it up and explains it to the people are listening, and there are people do follow Raila Amolo Odinga, they follow Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Other than the so-called swing voters that will decide maybe the last day or 2 to 3 days to elections, these people have very, very solid support. So I'm thinking if we can build on these 12 Kenyans, in as far as we are concerned, prima facie, from what we are seeing right now, IEBC is ready. IEBC is clear on how it's going to conduct this thing. From where we are sitting, it's going to be free and fair, but be vigilant. There's nothing wrong with people being vigilant. Be observant. Our agents are going to be trained properly. We're going to train them. We're going to ensure they understand the fundamentals in as far as observing an election and managing an election. And other things constant, we are going to have free, fair elections that are seen to be free and fair.
Yes, allow me to appeal to my brother Magayo. What he has said today, I can assure you, if you were there during the presidential debate, the parting shots from the former Prime Minister when he says that I wish Uhuru Kenyatta well. We are in a game. There will be in a game there will be a victor and there will be a loser. We want the game to be fair. And he says, and finally, when he says that the outcome that will be announced by the IEBC that is free, fair, and credible, I will respect the outcome. People remember that statement a lot because of the implication it has. So if the same thing that he has said today, for example, if he repeats, I've seen in the newspapers he's going to be, there's NASA has a rally in because if the president and the former Prime Minister repeat the same statements, I can tell you they are so significant in reducing the anxiety, which is not necessarily backed by evidence, which it is more backed by fear, and people will actually believe it will even enhance turnout.
Yeah.
I just wanted to use this opportunity to make that appeal both to NASA and to Jubilee, so that we really elevate this country up.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, time for another break. When we come back, we'll move the discussion from the IEBC to another very crucial arm of government that will also be very key in this election, and that's the judiciary. There's a headline there on the front page of the Daily Nation: Chief Justice to NASA and Jubilee keep off the judiciary. There's another one with regard to the case in which NASA has challenged the alternative method of voter identification, and what has happened to that. Some of the judges have recused themselves. We'll be discussing the judiciary after the break.